Alright, so it's been a week. Where are we? Hi, I'm Q and I'm writing a book, and this is my second book update on this YouTube, and we are talking about me finishing a chapter. Yay! Okay, so after my last week's update, I was talking about writing through disappointment. I was disappointed in myself, a job thing, and in my progress on my book. And I had said during that video that I was going to spend the week, number one, focusing on writing in the morning, and number two, harnessing that like little bit of fire that I had gotten from kind of someone telling me that I couldn't do something. And since last week, I have been focusing on two things, which have been writing in the morning and really, I guess, holding myself accountable and harnessing that fire that I had been feeling last week when I kind of got the message of like that I wasn't dedicated, or I wasn't showing that I was dedicated in the things that I'm doing in my life. And kind of I wanted to re-prove to myself that I am dedicated to anything and everything that I want to do. So this week I'm very, very happy and excited and feeling much different than I was last week. So I'm excited to say that I finished a chapter. It wasn't the chapter that I thought I was going to finish. So last week I had been struggling with chapter 7, and it took like the entire month of October to get through chapter 7, and I still hadn't had it done, and that was part of the reason for some of the disappointment. And this week I can say that I finished chapter 6. So what I did was, chapter 7 has a very important conversation between one of my characters and an authority figure, where the authority figure is kind of questioning whether my character is telling the truth. But in order to get to that conversation, I have to, or the reader needs to know about basically something that happens right before it. I had not worked out what had happened right before it, so I think that's why I was struggling. And I hadn't done that because it was in the other character's perspective. And so the way that I've been writing so far is my book switches POV, so chapters 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 in part 1 are from perspective of character A, and chapters 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 in part 1 are from the perspective of, I'm just going to call him character C. So I had not done any of character C's work yet because I was trying to do all of character A. But that didn't work, and it wasn't working. It was making me stall and making me like have to hold in my head what I know happens in, say, chapter 2 so that I could write chapter 3 and then skip to chapter 5, even though I hadn't worked out what was being said in chapter 4. So last week I took a step back, and instead of focusing on the conversation in chapter 7, I went back and said, okay, so what needs to be said in chapter 6 for me to even get here? And I also did a writing day. So I took all Saturday to write for about 9 hours. Got up at 8 a.m. or something like that, started writing by 9, ended the writing day by 6. So 9 hours of just dedicated to the book, and I got chapter 6 done in that day. On Monday, I also went back to chapter 6, tweaked it a little bit, made sure that it was flowing the way that I wanted it to, kind of reminded myself what I had said, and now I'm back to chapter 7. And I was hoping by the time that I recorded this video that I would be done with chapter 7. I'm not, but that's okay, because I rewrote part 1 of chapter 7, and now I'm moving on to the conversation that had been tripping me up. And now with the lead up, and now with the reader having the understanding and me having the understanding of what was already discussed in chapter 6, I think I'll be in a better place to pull out the important points of the conversation that needs to happen in chapter 7. So we'll see. I think that this week has been a good lesson to me that I was right in what I said last week, which was I needed to feel my feelings, I needed to hold myself accountable, and realize that the only reason that these things are not getting done is because of me. And then I did really, really need that writing day. I really needed it. So I'm still going to kind of keep trucking forward this month with that pattern. Writing in the morning has been helping, the writing day has been helping, so this Saturday and Sunday I will be sitting down and just writing and seeing what happens. Something else that I learned writing this week was that maybe I had been approaching it wrong. So I had already done my book outline. I already knew generally where everything was going to go and what needed to be said in what chapter. But I have been approaching this from a let me do all of character A's chapters first, and then I'll do character C's chapters, and then I'll put them together and do an edit of all of them all together. And maybe that just hasn't been working for me. So I will probably try at least the next 2 weeks to just focus on part 1 of the book, which is about 10 to 11 chapters, and do the back and forth, right? Go back and fill in chapter 2, which I hadn't done yet. Go back and fill in chapter 4, which I still hadn't done. And make sure that I can get 11 solid chapters between the two perspectives that really open up the book really strongly. The opening is the very hardest part for me. It always has been with this book. So I feel like if I can get part 1 done, part 2 and part 3 will be much easier. Part 3 will be way easier. Like, that's already written. Part 2 I'm a little bit nervous for, but I don't think it's going to be as hard as this has been. This has been 4 months of like really trying to rewrite the beginning, and it's been hard and stagnant in a lot of places. But I'm excited by the progress that I've made. I'm glad that I took the moment to reflect, and probably doing this book update did really help me like talk out my own writing block. You know, I think I was blocking myself. So yeah, so I feel good. I feel good. A chapter is done. We are not halfway done with the book or whatever, but it's done, and that feels really good. And I am still, no matter what, working towards my goal of having this draft done by January 1st, which is in 2 months, so I have a lot of work to do. But seriously, I feel good about this. So yeah, if you're writing a book, good luck. Hopefully some of me talking this out, you know, helps you kind of think about where you might be getting stuck. And I wish you all the best luck and happy writing. See you later.